Hello, today we are covering a lot, including tropical weather, thunderstorm activity, and fall weather. To start off in the tropics, for our first part of our video, we have the worldwide tropics. Here, you could see there are 5 tropical entities active, with an extratropical cyclone, 2 invests, and a remnants active. So to start off in the Eastern Pacific, we'll start off today. We have Tropical Storm Newton, which will likely become a tropical depression soon, or post-tropical. We'll be looking at the energy cones later. Ian is expected to intensify into a hurricane soon. Fiona still has winds of hurricane equivalent, and we are still watching for impacts. This could be a potentially historic storm, is what it looked like yesterday. And so we'll have to see, once the storm is done, what the full extent of the impacts are. Ian could be impacting the Gulf Coast from Louisiana to Florida. From what it looks like, it'll likely hit Florida or Alabama. However, Louisiana and Mississippi impacts, of course, cannot be ruled out. Tropical Storm Gaston will likely weaken soon, and Tropical Storm Hermion will also likely weaken soon. So we have 3 weak tropical storms active: Newton, Gaston, and Hermion. Now, invest 91L right here, 20% chance of forming. You can see that it has a small area. That's not because it has a small window of time to form. It has a chance of 4 to 5 days now to form. It just is moving slowly in the MDR. It doesn't look like this will become too much of anything. Of course, it'll stay out to sea. But it has a small chance of forming. Alright, looking at the Western Pacific, no other basins are active with any activity, tropical-wise. But we have Noru, which Philippine name carding, and it will impact the Philippines before moving on to Vietnam. Talas, its remnants are still active and it's expected to dissipate soon. And Invest 96W has a high chance of forming, 90%. Alright, that's going to do it for the first part of the video. Alright, now looking at the information for all of our tropical entities around the world, we see remnants of Fiona, or ex-Fiona, has 70 knot winds, which is hurricane force, despite being extratropical, so it is a very strong system. Yesterday it had winds in the Category 3 range while extratropical, which is not too common, you could say. The tropical storm force winds extend all the way from Newfoundland to Maine, including New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and parts of Quebec. The system is expected to last for quite a while still as an extratropical cyclone with winds of tropical storm equivalent, before moving closer to Greenland and islands north of Quebec. Alright, now looking at where the low pressure center is located, just to the north and east of Prince Edward Island and to the north of Nova Scotia. This will likely move inland to Quebec soon. Looking at model intensity, it's just showing a rapid decrease in wind speeds. However, it is still extremely powerful right now. Looking at pressure intensity, it's expected to over time drop off. And here's the track guidance, just showing it moving closer to Greenland. Here's another graphic. So I'd just like to mention how quickly this storm has been moving in the past few days throughout the subtropical Atlantic. In just a few days it moved from north of the Caribbean islands all the way to where it is now, north of Nova Scotia. Alright, now looking at Gaston, we see, actually we should first look at Fiona's satellite imagery. We just see a lot of its convection. I mean, it's of course extratropical, but so it doesn't have too much convection. But still a powerful storm with winds and rainfall. and of course the storm surge that was expected. Alright, Tropical Storm Gaston, right now it looks like its low pressure center is way off to the west of the main convection area. This storm is not looking too impressive at all, and this will likely degenerate very soon. Looking at the NHC cone, is expected to be on a post-tropical storm with storm winds and moving actually to the west-southwest. Intensity guidance by hour 60, it's expected to lose tropical storm intensity, and it might have likely have become extratropical by then anyway. Looking at track guidance, of course, expected to move west-southwest. Here are the tracks, and the low pressure not getting too deep at all. Alright, looking at Ian, we see the satellite imagery. Just to the south of Jamaica it is currently, and it is quite organized, and I expect it to become a hurricane very soon. Looking at other things, you can see hurricane watches and tropical storm watches are up, and is expected to become a hurricane according to the NHC by 8 p.m. on Sunday. It's currently 11 a.m. on Saturday, or at least that's when this issue for the NHC came out. Now it is around 1:30. It is expected to become a major hurricane before impacting Florida, and the NHC is banking on a more eastward track. I do want to look back on Tropical Storm Fiona's warnings. We do have those hurricane warnings and tropical storm warnings for a lot of the maritime provinces, and a tropical storm watch to the north of Quebec. Alright, now looking at Hermion. Again, another weak system. As I said before, a lot of its convection just displaced likely to wind shear or dry air, one or two of those things. And yeah, not organized at all, and it'll likely become post-tropical very soon. Looking at the NHC cone, expected to die off soon anyway, but becoming tropical depression first, according to the NHC, and then becoming an extratropical cyclone with depression winds. This is the low pressure location, and then the intensity guidance really expected to die off with those very weak tropical storm winds very soon. And yeah, alright, looking at Newton, we see not a lot of convection on this one either, another weak system. It looks like it might be a tropical depression or post-tropical cyclone soon. So the NHC cone shows it becoming a depression and then becoming post-tropical with depression force winds, just like Hermion. Here's the low pressure center on the grid map, and the intensity guidance expected to dip down as the depression winds very soon. The guidance shows it moving west first, then southwest, and then continuing westward after that curve. But this would be extratropical with depression winds anyway by that point. Alright, finally going on to Noru. You can see that eye feature starting to form. This will likely intensify further before impacting Luzon, and then intensify after landfall with the Philippines and the South China Sea, and then impact the Vietnam area. Just a little bit laggy right now. Looking at the rest of the storms, actually, let's finish up with Noru. Here's the low pressure center and the Joint Typhoon Warning Center cone, 75 knots right now, and then it's actually expected to get stronger before impacting Luzon, and then 90 knots according to the JTWC to the south of Hainan before making landfall in Vietnam. Here we see models, not too many actually, but relatively strong low pressure system, as you can see, in a very straightforward track, almost exactly due west. You can see there are some outliers, however, I can tell you that will almost indefinitely not happen, like the one that moves to the south, southwest or due north. That will likely not happen. Most likely it will not make landfall in Hainan in China, however it will likely make landfall in Vietnam somewhere in the central coast. Talas, its remnants really moving offshore now. This system never made landfall, and it is not going to make landfall in Japan, as you can see by the cone. Very weak winds, and there's the system is about to die off. Alright, now looking at the two invests, we see invest 99L. Really trying to get its act together, but not doing too well with that. I think we do actually have a new invest. I think 91L was dropped, apparently, according to this. Let me look on maps where this is. No, this is the same system, so maybe it was renamed to a different invest. I'm not really sure. But anyway, the system has a chance of forming. I could be getting 91L and 99L mixed up. It might just have been 99L. But anyway, I gave it a 20% chance of forming. And then 96W, just a mess, to be honest, at this point. But it will likely, it's not a complete mess. You could see it's trying to organize itself. But it will likely form with a 90% chance, almost 100%. I'm convinced of that. Going to the others, you can see the track is pretty straightforward, not making landfall in Japan, staying out to sea, becoming a relatively strong system before turning post-tropical. You see the GFS is in agreement with that track as well. Alright, looking at the NHC, we have the 5 systems marked. We have Fiona. Well, first let's look at the satellite imagery. So this is the satellite imagery going on. You can see there is a front that caused Fiona to not impact the East Coast directly with a landfall. Gaston and Hermion are expected to weaken soon. Fiona is expected to weaken further as it moves into Quebec, and Ian is expected to become a major hurricane. In the Eastern Pacific, we have Newton dying off. And then in the Central Pacific, there is nothing active, which is to be expected. The Joint Typhoon Warning Center, we have Noru. Let's look at, so 75 knots, so it is a typhoon at this time. Of course, we looked at that already. Talas, the remnants are dying off. And then looking at Newton, we see the Joint Typhoon Warning Center's cone, we see the tropical storm force winds, and then this system dies off soon by the, I believe the 27th is what it's showing. And then 96W, it's showing a low chance of forming. And that's 24 hours, but I believe it has a high chance of forming in the 5-day range. Alright. Now moving on to the models for the North Atlantic, we see Ian really trying to gun for major hurricane status, almost reaching strong Category 4 to Category 5 range. That is unlikely, but we'll have to watch if anything with the Cat 3 to 4 range is possible. This system moves on to the eastern United States and impacts maritime Canada. What's interesting about the system is that, Fiona, is that it's actually bringing snowfall to Quebec, or at least it is likely to bring snowfall soon. So that's how deep into the subtropics this system has moved. I believe around 50 degrees north. Yes, it's around 50 degrees north now. Go to tropicaltidbits.com and to the current storm section to see all the exact latitude and longitude locations of these storms. Alright, looking at the European model for Ian, we see this system really developing and potentially becoming a hurricane, likely a hurricane and potentially a major hurricane before impacting Cuba. as well as Jamaica soon, and then Florida eventually.